Okay, welcome back everyone to day two, everyone including one person. Um, Today we're gonna do let's see here. What are we gonna do? We're gonna do some stuff with our website here. So we are currently at day four, which is September 29, and I'm just gonna copy everything that we did from September 22nd or the last time and paste it. And then I'm gonna open this in VS Code. Let's see, okay. 1 second. So this is day four, and we have our summary that I pre-wrote. I have to find it in the full stack. And these are all checklists. Okay, so let's get started with this. So I'm gonna make this a little bigger. So let's see where we ended off in terms of the final product. So have our website, have the dog API, and yeah, the weather data is not going to work right now because I did change my API key as of last time we met because I had to push this. But anyways, um, I want to do something before we add more APIs. I'm going to organize the site more, so more front end stuff, more client stuff. So we're going to be putting all of this stuff in a accordion. So let's see, what was it called? Get Bootstrap. It's their websites. There's this thing called an accordion, and I want to use it. I think it's called an accordion, actually. Let's see here. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, so this allows us to, if I can find it. Oh, this is migrating. I want. That's it. Yeah, accordion. This just allows you to put stuff inside of these little tabs that they open like this. So I'm gonna have one for the dog API. I'm gonna have one for the weather one and the other API that we'll do today. So to integrate this, I'm gonna open this to the side. Where did VS Code go? Okay, that was weird. Oh, it's because it's full screen. And I'm going to change some stuff here. So to put, I guess we can do this and like that. So to do this, they have the code here. So I'm gonna put, so where is our welcome to my site? So this is the dog API. This is the weather API. So each of these have their own divs. So I'm gonna first create a div dot accordion. And then this has an ID of an accordion example. I'm just gonna copy what they did. And so your accordion is gonna go inside, or your accordion items. It seems like I'm just grabbing this or just understanding it intuitively. Every item probably you want is gonna have like that, and so each item is gonna have. Let's see. So that's the accordion body. Okay, I think this makes sense. So I'm just gonna copy this much. I'll put this in the chat, um, and I'll put this in the notes too. I can refer to it later, but I'm going to copy from here to here the accordion example, and I think that should work. So let me first refresh it. So by default, it'll be open. Okay, that's exactly what I want. I think I copied exactly that. That closes that. That closes that. Perfect. Okay, so each item is gonna be like this. So I think usually when it gets cluttered, you want to start um, commenting. So this is a comment. Not That's actually not a comment. This is a comment in HTML. So I'm gonna call this dog API, or well, this is just the main accordion, and then inside of here, this is an accordion. Well, this is the accordion item. So in here we want dog API stuff. So this will be like random dog. So this will be like the text of the actual accordion. And then this is the body within. So in here, we want to just get rid of whatever we want in our body is what we want inside, like what we actually want when we open the accordion. So I'm gonna paste the dog stuff there that we wrote last time and refresh it. You should see a random dog, and then close it. It's gone. Open, close, just like that. Our stuff is a little more organized, and it actually scales a lot better on our page. It doesn't take up the whole page. Let me get a new dog. I guess it still is kind of weird, but it is a little more containerized, which is good for the site, I guess. Another thing we can do, let's add the other accordion item. So I'm just going to copy it from here to here because that's each accordion item. I'm going to put a comment here called, what's it going to be called? Weather API. Nuts. And then this is going to be like weather API, which I don't know if we're going to have time to work on today. And then I'm just going to move everything within like the weather status and replace that with what we pasted in earlier straightly into our accordion body. And again, the weather API is not going to work because the key, where did I put? Yeah, the key right here, I changed it to your API key here for when I pushed it onto GitHub, so no one can steal my key. And I also deactivated the key, so even if I did push it, it wasn't going to work. But now you can see if I refresh. Oh, that's weird. Oh yeah, so this is actually something you have to do. So what happened right here was it's called if you press random dog, it's gonna open both or it'll close both. So you need it to be I think there's a setting here that's, yeah, so you have to change the data BS parent. So I'm going to change the ID for this first button, or for the first accordion, which I called it, what did I call it? Collapse one. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, so collapse one. So I'm going to change this to, I guess, dog section, I guess. Place the first three, because that's like within this, and then the weather API, I'll change it to, and to open up this dialog, I just did Control F, and then I press this button. I don't know how it works on other IDEs or code editors, but yeah, it should be Control F. And then I'm going to change the second thing to weather section and replace the rest. And so now it should open respectfully to each thing. Yeah, just like that. And so it's a little more organized, our website, which is good. Now, let's see what we're gonna do. We're gonna do let's look on the public API list. I totally forgot where it was, but for the viewers that's watching this recording in the future, one of the only person in this meeting suggested we do another API or try to do another one, and I think it was Ron Swanson, free quote API. This probably has it. Let's see. Yeah, so I guess I'm just going to use this API. So how do we use this? Shouldn't be too hard. It's all it is it's this endpoint returns an array, and array of length 1 that just has this quote as a string here. So all we have to do is parse it. So we have an API just like that. Let's first look at the API documentation. So so there's /v2, so that's the main. You can return a number of quotes. You can return the search. So I guess we can fiddle around with that. That'd be kind of interesting to do. So I'm going to first create a section for the for this new API that we're going to integrate in the front end. Usually you probably want to do stuff. You don't want to do the HTML right now, but I'm just going to do it for the sake of it. So this is going to be Ron. I don't want to screw up the name. Ron Swanson. All right. Ron Swanson. Oops. And I'm putting these comments here for the sake of clarity because it can get confusing sometimes. And so I know this section refers to this stuff. This section, the weather API, refers to all the weather API, and so on and so forth. And I'm going to change this to Ron Swanson quotes. And what else? And then this is like our body. I also have to change the weather section. So I'm going to change it to, I guess I'll just change it to quotes section, and then replace the next 3, and should be good, or it should show up. Oh yeah, and I also didn't get rid of this. So here is where our stuff will go. So our stuff will be like in there, and it's gonna keep asking for my location. But yeah, so our Ron Swanson codes are eventually gonna be spit into here. I don't know why I did that, but now we can actually get to the programming for this. So for parsing this API, they have a search functionality. They have just where you want to get one. I think we can start off with that. So let's see. We could throw it in one of our API wrappers. I remember I created another whole API variable for weather related methods. I think I'll just do a whole nother one, another API variable relating to the Ron Swanson, because we can do 2 of them that I can think of right now. 2 methods of getting data from this API. I guess 3 because they have 3 routes. One's get quotes, one's get quotes with the number of how many quotes you want, or one with I guess search. We can do all 3 of these. So I'm gonna do like quotes API is equal to an object, and in this object we're gonna have let's see what we're gonna do first. We're gonna get quotes. So get quotes. I would call it like Ron quotes just for the sake of confused with normal quotes. These are not normal quotes. But let's see. So I'm gonna do so this is a variable, get quotes, and then the variable value, the value of the variable is an function. I know I've been writing it in this kind of notation. That's called arrow notation. I'll try to be more friendly with the JavaScript syntax because not everyone knows it. So here we have get quotes, and then we can do like search quotes. I'm trying to think. We might not even need multiple methods. I guess so int, not int. This is not, you don't need that. I'm trying to think right now. Okay, so we'll just start off with get quotes. I'll do search quotes later. So one of the function parameters that we can use is like the number of quotes we can return, because this API allows us to take more than just one, but by default it'll be 1. As you can see, this array has a length of 1. So I'm gonna do number, or I'll just call it num, or quotes, I guess, num quotes. so number of quotes. And here I'm going to return, we've done this before in here. I'm just going to copy this, the fetch. And so what we're going to do is fetch the, let's see here. So we're going to fetch this API right here, and I'll copy paste the chat. And also I will copy paste this into the notes because I know I'm going to close out of this at the end and then regret my life choices. And then let's see. So copy that, throw that in here. And so that's like the actual API that we're going to fetch from. And then, yes, this is a GET request because we're not sending anything to this server. We're just taking data directly from the server. So it'll just be a GET request. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the response and turn it into a JSON response. So that allows us from being like this weird string of stuff into something our machine can understand, which is a JSON object with an array of one item. And so that allows us to move forward. And so the third promise, or the second promise, allows us to actually manipulate and use the data that we got from that API. So essentially what I'm going to do is data. I guess I can console log data just to show that this works. And I'll go to the website, refresh it, and I'm going to, so right now it's not going to do anything. So I'm going to do, what did I call it? Ron quotes API dot get quotes. And the number of quotes, I didn't set that up right. But if I were to call this function, it should say, yeah, it should print out exactly like one of those, an array with length 1. And boom, just like that, it'll give me it every time I run this API. But now we want to throw this on our HTML canvas. We want to actually put it on our front end. So to do that, it's quite simple. So we need to have document dot, all right, no. This is not, we have to set the div up, or I guess we can do like some sort of, trying to think, I guess we can just do a div hash. So div ID, let's think, Ron quotes. I'll put a capital Q there so we don't confuse ourselves, but this will be like the output of our Ron stuff, or our API. So I'll say like loading quotes, because by default we're just going to make this, you know, actually we can, yeah, no, we can say loading by default. We'll make it run on load. We'll do that actually right now. So the reason I put loading quote here is because automatically, if we were to put this in our onload function, which is essentially when our website loads completely, this stuff will run. It'll replace this text, the loading text. Don't know why I closed out of it. It'll replace that text with the text that we're going to set in here, which is document. To do that, we have to do document.query selector. Take that hash, which is the ID, and do Ron quotes like that. Dot inner HTML. That sets like the inner HTML of that div to our, I guess, to our like to the string. So since it's an array, and since we're going to implement like the number of quotes, I'm going to do data.join. And what data.join does, and I'm going to put an empty string here with one space. So I'll just show you quickly what this does. You don't have to see this. Oh, yeah. So pretty much what join does is, let's say you have an array const, let's a, which is our array, equal like hello. And I'll have like another thing saying like hi. And then our, so this is our array. So eventually, pretend like each of these entries in here is good, like a quote from our API. So a.join allows us to, and if I just do a.join, it'll join everything here with a comma by default. I didn't know that, but if you were to do a.join with a space right here, and this the only parameter in here argument is the separator, so that's what that is. It'll put it all in one sentence. I could also do a new line, which does not print out how you think it would, but on the HTML, when you render it out, it will. And you can also do, what else is I gonna do? Yeah, I think that's it. I don't even know what I was gonna do, but that's how this is gonna work. We're gonna print it out on each line. So I'm gonna do data.join slash br, and what a br does is it does like it's called a break, I think. All it does is kind of put a new line. In fact, I think \n should work, which also means new line. Usually in the standard output, we'll see. So we also want to implement the number of quotes. So I know in the API itself, it says if we do quotes slash count, if we were to do like slash count and then the number, it says as like a number like slash quote slash 2, you can see that like it'll show 2 quotes. If I were to do like 5, it'll show 5 quotes. I don't know the limit. Let's see if there is a limit. Kind of curious now. 199. There that many on this? I'm curious. 100. Oh, there's only 109. So I guess that's how many there are. Let's make sure. Only 109 quotes, which is pretty impressive. It's a lot of quotes. But what we can do is, let's do that. Let's implement that. So I'm going to do num quotes is equal to 1. So what this does is by default, it'll just set it to only 1. And then in here, I'll do slash and then $, open curly braces between here. We want our stuff. We want what we want evaluated, so number of quotes. And you need these ticks, which are actually tildes. If you press the tilde key on your keyboard, that's what shows up, without pressing shift, of course. But we want that to be a template string, as we call it. In Python, it's like an F string. But that should render it by default. In case I never provide like the number of quotes, it'll default to 1. So if we were to run that, we don't need to, but actually we were going to have to just test it. Let's find our website. So if I were to refresh it, run is not defined. We got an error. Oh yeah, I never finished this function. Run quotes API dot get quotes. We'll do 1 by default in our onload function, and then refresh it. Oh yeah, so it should say, yeah, well, I'm not good at speeches, so goodbye. Let's do run quotes API. No, run quotes API dot get quotes. Let's do like 5. Yeah, so it didn't actually put it into a new line. So I'm gonna do the break. And that should work. Let's see if that makes it. I guess it does it. Let's put 2 breaks just to be sure. And yeah, so it's only going to be 1 by default, and I guess I could test it. Yeah, so now it's a little better. So let's try something else where we can make it easier to get quotes, using a Bootstrap thing. So oh yeah, I think it's called a range. So yeah, so we can make it select like how many quotes. Let's see. So we can take the value from here. So I'm going to do this. So I'm going to copy this code. We're going to have like a number value, and you can select how many quotes you want to see. So sure, you probably spam it by doing it, because we'll see. So instead of here, I'm going to go here and do, I'm going to paste that, and this is the URL. And I'll also take a note of this. In fact, I'm going to open this in a separate, so I don't have to keep opening this up. And I'll also send this in the Zoom chat. This is called a range, and I'll show you how to use it. So for the range, what we're going to want to do is So they have an ID here. That's where we're going to take our value. Oh yeah, we also need to make it so that min and max. So we need to copy the minimum and maximum. And the step is 1 by default, I think. Yeah, we'll do step is equal to 1. So that's like how much you can increment it. You can't have half a quote. Just you can take the whole quote. So there's a minimum of 0 quotes. Let's change that to 1 because that's like our minimum. You don't want to have 0 quotes. And then our maximum is 109 from when we tested it earlier. So should be good. I'm going to change the ID from this custom range. I'll change this to number of Ron, or I'll just make it simple. Ron, I guess, Ron range. No, I don't know what to call this. Range, I'll just call it quote range. And then I'll paste that in here because it says a 4 value. You probably need to keep that the same. And then change like the actual label. I'll change it to number of quotes. And then it'll be like, if I were to refresh it, let's see, yeah, you'll see that it shows up, but it does nothing. So you need to make it actually listen for when it changes. Trying to think how we're gonna do that. Let's see. So I'm assuming there's some sort of listener. Actually, let's try this. On change. Okay, that's an actual thing. I'm gonna do Ron quotes.ap. I'm gonna copy this and anything inside an on change evaluates JavaScript. So I'm going to do Ron quotes API.get quotes. Now you want it to be the number of like the number that this input has. So to do that, if I remember correctly, it's this dot value. Let's see if that works. But let's refresh that. Allow, I guess, and then okay, yeah, that's a lot of quotes. So I would put this to 1. Okay, so I guess that works. It's just insane how many there are. Okay, that's a lot. Let me change one thing here. I guess I can do. Nah, that's fine. Trying to think. That's whatever. That's fine. Yeah, I was just gonna try to optimize it. Let me see the default value if you can change it. So, in case this didn't make sense, let me make this look a little better. It's kind of hard to tell with all this and cluttered. Yeah, I guess that's fine. And then one thing, we do values equal to 1. I want it to be default to 1. I think that's what this does. Yes. So it'll be 1, and then boom. If I were to do 109, it'll do all 109, just like that. I'm gonna do it to like 50, and that should be 50. So that's like an interest. That's kind of cool. That works. So that it'll always. So every time you. So I was gonna explain how this works. So every time you change that input, which is this range, every time you change it, it'll run this function, Ron quotes API dot get quotes, and that's over here, Ron quotes API dot get quotes. It'll run this function, and just like that, it'll keep like at the end, it'll perform the get request. It'll turn it into JSON, and then we will set the inner HTML into like what we into our website, and that's how this works. We can also implement. I think I'll just do one more thing here. You can implement like a search because I know they had one thing here. Where is it that you can search terms? So I'll create this in its own function, like I was initially. So we're gonna do. We're gonna do search quotes, and then this will be function of search term. So let's look at the documentation. So they want a term. So I'm assuming this is just a one letter thing and it'll just match it. I guess. Like I guess a search term, how a normal search term works. So what we're gonna do is search term. Let's see. So if there's no search term provided, we're gonna throw, or no, we're not gonna throw, but we're gonna return an alert, being like, please enter something valid, or just please enter something. Yeah, just please enter something. So if the search term doesn't do anything, we're gonna alert is a native function. If you were to run alerts anywhere, it's within all of your browsers, whatever browsers you use. So this is an alert. I don't know if we've done this before, but what this will do is it'll do like an alert through your browser. That's all that does. So we're gonna return it if the user doesn't provide a search term, and then we're gonna get our search term. So how do we get it from the user without using the console? There's an input group, and you could type stuff in. So I'm just gonna use this right here, this example, and I'll change it. I'll throw this somewhere. Let's see where I'm gonna throw it. Let's see here. So I guess I can just, I'm gonna make this bold too, just because when I was looking, it was kind of weird. One second. Let me paste this. I guess I'll paste it below it, and then I'll also have a button after. Let me just check one thing. Is there like an oh, okay. This might be better. I like this one more. So the second one, I'm gonna have it so that it's integrated. So it'll be like you type in the search terms and then you press the button. And I'll put this in the chat, this URL, and then I'll put this in the chat or in the notes. I'm gonna copy this and replace it with what I just put in. And these will be like, so the placeholder is like what that text is, like this gray text right here. And I'll put search terms, and the label terms, I'll just call it search. And I'll keep everything else the same. I don't really care about anything else. Then I'll change this button name to search. Like you press the button search, or I'll just call it go. Or no, I'll just call it search. Search. And then I was gonna move this to make it bold because it looked kind of weird. Like I was gonna make the number of quotes label bold so it doesn't like merge kind of. If you look at, yeah, now it looks a little more distinguished. So the range still works. Let's make this smaller. And then I want the search terms. So let's see. What are we gonna do? So when the button goes, we're gonna do, let's first actually create the code. So we're gonna do a fetch request, and this will be quotes slash, so it'll be v2 slash quotes slash search and then our term. And so if we were to do like search slash, like the example they had, hate, that are the two results, love, that's how that works. Let's try like multiple letters, like I have, maybe, I have, I guess. Okay, so it doesn't have to be search terms. It can be like a sentence. It'll just match. So to do that, I'm going to get rid of this code here, and I'm going to do slash search slash number of quotes. No, we're going to have our search term here, and that should work now. But we need to get the search term. So to get the search term, what we're going to do is, well, it'll come from here. So when we press the button, I'm trying to think. Let's think here. How are we going to get the, okay, so we're just going to use the, does this have an ID? So I'm going to have it, I'm going to add an ID into this input so we can take the value from here. So I'll call it ID search, I'll call it run search terms. And that'll be the ID for this. So to get the data from there, instead of search term directly, I guess I'll just call it, I'll define it in here. Let search terms equals I call it search term, whatever, equal document. Now to get something, it's query selector. I mean, when you want to get something from like an element, you want to do query selector and then the ID of it, and we're going to take this inputs value. So to do that, all it is hash the ID. If you're using a class, you would do dot, but I don't want to use a class, even though I could get away. Form control. So that's the only thing. Oh, it is the only thing. I could if I wanted to do dot form control right here. Dot form control if I wanted to, but conventionally speaking, you want to put an ID for anything you're relating to in for like JavaScript. Just conventionally speaking, it would work both ways. So I'm going to take search terms dot value, and that'll take like the value of that. I think it's value. It might be something else, but it'll be the value of that text box. And then I'm going to paste it into here. And yeah. And so if we do /search terms, again, we're using template string here and replacing it /search/ whatever our input is, just like that. And it should work. So our data, I'm not going to console log it. I'm sure you know how that works, but we're going to do it directly into our output. So it will actually be the same thing as this. So I'm going to actually, for the sake of redundancy, or for the sake of making this less complicated, I'm going to do, I guess, make it more modular. I'm going to do, I'm going to cut that from here, and I'm going to put it in its own method called change text. I should have done this with the other ones. This will be a function with, it'll just be, yeah, it'll just be text, or like what we're going to set it as. And it'll be document.query selector, and changing the Ron quotes output to whatever the text is, which is what that function is going to give out. So now I don't have to call that whole string again. I can just do this dot change text. And oops, boom, it should change it like that. And I need to put a comma there. And so that should work now. And then over here, I could do this dot change text and do same thing, data dot join. I guess if I want to, since it's always going to be an array, I'll just move that there because I'm going to always throw in the text. So I'll call this quotes array. And so since I'm just going to throw it in here, it'll just change the text based on the array that I throw in, because data is an array, and I'm going to join the array over here instead of changing it, instead of joining it each time. So again, I'm going to do that here. And now you kind of start to notice a pattern that just for refactoring, you don't need to have this here, because if you're using the same as argument for like the data or whatever, like from here to here, all you need to do now is just kind of bind the function. I think that's the right term, but you can just delete that and it'll just call it to itself. I think that'll work. Let's see. And so that just makes the code a lot more compact, because it's implied that your function will just automatically throw it into this here and then spew it out just like that through this promise. So I'm going to run this, refresh it, and it does work because it's working by default. I'm going to change it like the thing, and now we have like 50 number of quotes just like that. I'm going to close all these, and now let's try the search terms. So I'm going to do like Ron, I guess. This is probably going to be a lot. Search. Something happened, didn't work. Oh yeah, I don't think we ever binded it or gave it a function call. So now what I'm going to do here is make the button actually do something when I click on it. So that'll be on click, I think. Yeah, on click. Ron. What was it? Ron quotes API dot search. Already forgot. I guess I can do this right here. So it was search quotes, and this has no arguments. These have no arguments. So it should just work. It'll by default take the value from that input, and just like that, it'll work now. So I'm gonna do like Ron. I'm gonna search for the keyword Ron, and I guess that's the only 4 quotes here that work for Ron. But you could see that if I were to search network, all these requests go through. When I change it to like 109, it'll make a new request to that website, and you could see it's an array of 100 plus items. And when I search for Ron, you can see the 4, like the data shows up here in the console. And so this is just, again, this is just a log of all of the entries, or like all the network stuff, network side of things when you change, or when you search for stuff, or when you request from other servers. So I'm going to limit the number of quotes to 1. I'm going to search for like dog. Yeah, I guess that's the only quote there. And yeah, I guess that works. Let's see. I hate this always opening up. I'm gonna move that to the bottom, the dog stuff. So remember, it's really easy because now we have these comments. So the dog API stuff, all I'm gonna do is go all the way here and cut it, and I'll move it to the bottom because I hate how large some of these images are. And I'll paste it right here, and it should work. Should move it to the bottom. The weather API doesn't work. Yeah, there we go. That works. Quotes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I'm gonna end it a little early, unless you have any questions. Yeah, that's been it. This is the project. Thank you guys for tuning in. People on the recording and in person, or I guess in Zoom. Thank you. Let's stop the recording. Let's see.